One of the greatest challenges facing the world today is to find sustainable ways of producing enough protein for the growing human population. This will require us to change how we raise livestock, as well as finding new kinds of protein to eat. My name is Evan Fraser, and this is part of my video series on how to feed the world's growing population. Today, I am joined by my friend Ben Bohor, who's a meat scientist here at the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada.
Hi. An interesting consideration with today's food production is that if all we consider is food energy or calories, we already produce enough food for the world's population. But we are currently struggling to produce enough protein, and we know we're going to need a lot more protein in the future.
That's right, Ben. Today, most of our protein comes from cattle, pigs, or chickens. Seafood is also extremely important, especially in poor countries. But the lion's share of the world's protein comes from those three land-based species.
By most measures, producing beef, dairy, pork, and poultry take a lot of water, energy, and land. So many people argue that in the future we are going to have to do three things. First, we need to develop new ways of producing pigs, chickens, and cattle so they require less resources. Second, we may need to reduce our consumption of these products. Finally, we may need new alternative proteins that are less taxing on the environment.
But does this mean the world would be better if everyone simply stopped eating meat and dairy? After all, lots of livestock today are fed with grain that could otherwise be fed to people. So couldn't we feed a lot more people if we cut animals out of the equation?
Partly correct, Evan, but what you're saying is too simple. We must think about both the number of calories people need, but also the nutrition of the food we eat. And we look at the quality of protein that comes from meat and dairy. We know that on a nutrient-for-nutrient basis, livestock is extremely nutritious.
Also, cattle are designed to eat grass. This is amazing because grass has very few nutrients that humans can use, and so cattle and other grazing animals can help turn grass, which would otherwise not be very useful, into amazing things like ice cream.
In addition, livestock produces manure that can help maintain soil quality, and so livestock are a vital component of a sustainable agro-ecosystem. Animal-derived food products are also culturally important. Some people can't imagine having Thanksgiving dinner without the turkey. And the livestock industry is a significant source of income for 1 billion of the world's poorest people. So the problem isn't with animal agriculture per se, but rather the fact that some of the ways we produce livestock currently are unsustainable.
One way of tackling this problem is through science. First, we can breed more efficient livestock varieties that can be raised with fewer inputs. Also, the science of sustainable grazing systems can help farmers get the most out of their pastures. And putting Fitbit-like activity monitors on animals and linking these with feeding stations can help make sure that animals in intensive systems are given a diet that is exactly matched to their needs.
And we need to mention alternatives to meat. There are a number of different foods that contain high levels of protein. We can eat a variety of foods in moderation to meet our protein requirements. Soybeans, nuts, legumes, and pulses like lentils provide a good source of protein that can often be produced with less environmental impact.
This isn't to say, however, that plant protein is always more sustainable than animal protein. Just like there are both sustainable and unsustainable livestock farms, there are also sustainable and unsustainable ways of producing crops. For instance, soybeans are linked with deforestation in South America.
We could also get protein from algae or fungus. What's really cool is that in the future we may be able to take the waste heat and carbon dioxide from power plants or steel mills and use this to grow algae in large vats.
Finally, we could get at least some of our protein from insects. I have some colleagues who are very excited by the possibility of raising edible insects on organic garbage, and this would help reduce waste and produce a sustainable source of nutritious food.
All of these are great points, and we should realize that any strategy to sustainably feed the future may have unintended consequences. For instance, although eating insects that are fed on organic garbage sounds like a great idea, we have to make sure that the insects don't pick up bacteria or viruses from the waste and make people sick. Also, billions of people around the world depend both directly on raising animals or indirectly on secondary industries like the textiles, cosmetics, and rendering industries. My point is that policymakers and industry need to think carefully through these trade-offs to help us manage unintended consequences by adopting new policies or production methods.
In conclusion, there is very strong evidence that our current ways of producing protein require too much water, too much energy, and too much land. Things need to change. These changes will require scientific research to make livestock production more efficient, as well as work on alternative proteins so that consumers are presented with a wider range of more sustainable options. Thanks very much for listening. My name is Evan Fraser, and I work at the University of Guelph. You can check out the other videos in this series at the Aral Food Institute webpage or on my Feeding 9 Billion YouTube channel.